This is The Gorge. This is a podcast where my friend Sara and I gorge ourselves on overanalyzing a topic. The Gorge is brought to you by Coffee. That's ko-fi.com/THEGOR. If you donate money, we can afford to add extra letters to the URL and get our full podcast title in there instead of only the 6.
Yeah. We probably, in retrospect, literally 3 weeks after you told me about the new coffee account, I was like, we probably should have just called it Gorge. Gorge.
You're right. We should have done that.
We should have done that. But we didn't, and now it's too late. Whoopsie. So it's The Gore. So
yeah, it's The Gore.
The Gore! That's, that's gory video games. Maybe we can talk about, gory stuff.
Or Thegor, like someone's orc character in D&D.
That's an awesome idea. Yeah, that's what this podcast is about now. We're just going to talk about people's D&D characters, but only orc characters.
Yeah, only orcs. Send us your best orc.
Honestly, I feel like that would probably backfire horribly, and we'd get thousands of listeners going, no, we want that. And we're like, fuck
The Gork podcast.
The Gork! Oh, maybe we should do that for April Fool's Day.
We should. We totally should.
Okay.
But no, what are we actually talking about this week?
This week is a slightly delayed indie week by a little while. We're not going to say hello. We're talking about Cosmic Star Heroine for the PlayStation 4, the Nintendo Switch, which is coming soon, the Xbox One, PlayStation Vita, which blows my mind, and the PC.
Yeah, it's on tons of stuff. I'm actually surprised because I donated this game. It's a Kickstarter game.
Oh, yeah.
That was a few years ago. And I threw down for it, immediately seeing the trailer. I was like, yeah, I'm in. I'm totally into this.
Yeah.
I
can't imagine why.
Yeah, it's shocking.
Right.
And it was one of those games that, it didn't, could take the world by storm. It wasn't like Shovel Knight or, other indie titles like that where it's you just completely blew the fuck out of your
it's no Cave Story.
Yeah, it's not Cave Story. It's not Ukulele or Shovel Knight, but it's it made its goal and it had a few extra bucks to spare, and I'm just surprised that it managed to hit every platform that it did. I know they were the Vita version was a little bit delayed, but
right.
people are saying playing this in the Vita feels so good. It's which is great.
Yeah. I feel like I would have a little bit more, not to say that I disliked this game, but I feel like I would appreciate it a little bit more if I had played it on a handheld. Because there are certain aspects of Cosmic Star Heroine's core gameplay loop that I was really, really tired of by the end of it, unfortunately.
It's kind of an RPG that you it's not a conventional Final Fantasy or a Tales game or something like that, or even a Persona. The way it handles its battle system, yeah. And it's leveling up and its party mechanics, it's slightly tilted in a unique way that it takes a little bit to figure out what makes this different, and you have to switch your mind frame of how you normally play JRPGs.
Yeah, and I liked this game well enough, and this is not me saying Cosmic Star Heroine sucks. But it definitely has this might be the first time we've ever really genuinely disagreed on a game, because I kind of came out of Cosmic Star Heroine with a bit of I didn't love it. I just kind of it was just an okay game. It was a 7, you know. Because there's a lot about the way they handled the battle system, the lack of grind. Now this is weird. The lack of grind in this game, there's just something about it that I just didn't like. I think battles take a little too long. There are fewer battles, but they take longer. And if that's your thing, then Cosmic Star Heroine is for you. But it ended up not being my thing at all. I've gotten too used to like modern JRPG systems that are very like go go go, fast fast fast, battles are over in like 30 seconds kind of systems.
Like your Personas or your
Tales. I mean, Tales games grade you on how quickly if a fight in Tales games lasts longer than 30 seconds, you're either in a boss fight or you've done something wrong. Like, Tales games grade you on how fast you can get out of a fight. They're like, did you get less than 10 seconds? Hell yeah, have some grade, you know? And Cosmic Star Heroine is like, no, let's just sit here for a while. And every enemy has a ton of HP, and your attacks don't make a big dent, but the enemy's attacks don't really make a big dent in you. And we're just gonna sit here, and you're gonna learn to appreciate the combination system of this battle. Which is, again, if it's your thing, if you think like, wow, that sounds great, you will probably love Cosmic Star Heroine. I know you liked Cosmic Star Heroine quite a bit. I
did, and I appreciated the slower paced battles, and what it ended up being was that like for a while, so kind of the way it works basically is that like when you go to a new area, the enemy variety in that specific area is pretty limited. You're going to be fighting about like 4 or 5 different enemy types.
Yeah, and I would say 4 to 6 different types of enemies.
Yeah, and for each area has a whole new set, but like you know you're only encountering a small handful of like enemies in one specific area. So what you kind of end up having to do is this is a game that like more than any other JRPG I think I've ever really played. This is a game that's really emphasizing like party combination and like really pushing you from not getting like stagnant with your abilities and which characters you want in your party. You're given a ton of party members. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 party members.
Good God.
In a game that's about 20, 25 hours long.
Oh, no, shorter than that. If you're going to go for everything, you're probably going to put excuse me. You're probably going to put 20 hours into it, but you can clear if you're just doing your thing. You can clear this game in 15 hours.
Oh yeah, easily.
Yeah, easily. So there were things about that I did appreciate. It was very Grandia. I know you haven't played Grandia, but Grandia does that where it does a party shuffle really often. It'll be like, hey, you just don't have this character for like the rest of the game. Yeah. And now you have to reorient yourself with the party. You know, there's always in Grandia, it's always like there's 2 main characters who are always in the party sometimes. And then everybody else is kind of doing a Kansas City shuffle. And for story sequences in Cosmic Star Heroine, that's what's happening there, you know?
Yeah, you'll lose party members, and party members will come back in. They'll disappear for a while. They'll come back as more permanently. There's a lot of shifting around, and like this is a game that's like encouraging you to like not get like too comfortable with like, well, for one thing, also, you know, each character has like a deck basically that they put together of their abilities, and each ability has different attributes to it. So like this game is kind of like encouraging you to really synergize your party for each specific area, for each specific like encounter you're getting into, and like, you know, how you arrange your abilities so that they synergize with your party members and with, you know, the enemies you're fighting against.
Yeah. And there was some aspects of that I really dug. I like this idea of all these character abilities interacting with each other in unique ways. Stuff you can do to yourself, like Chan?
I pronounced it Chan.
Chan, because there's that extra H in there.
Yeah.
Chan has like the whole, well, you can just do one shot, or you can combine it with something that will make it hit multiple targets instead. Stuff like that. These series of combinations you can do that everything interacts with each other, and you can, by the end of the game, you definitely have some very interesting ways to kind of dominate the battlefield. The Saib, this is
there's like 3 or 4 acting. There's like 3 or 4 party members in this game where I'm just like, I don't know how to pronounce that name.
I want to say Psybe because it makes me think of Psyche, you know? And he's like psychic, like they're like psychic people. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's Chan, Psybe, and Arete.
Arete, and then don't forget Xorv, Z apostrophe XORV, Xorv.
Zigbar. It's
Zigbar.
But yeah, so by the end of the game, there's some interesting combinations. Psybe's, his songs are really interesting with the whole, you can be like, oh, end of the song now for double damage, and then if you combine it with the little overcharge thing, which name is totally escaping me right now, it does even more damage. It's like, oh, that's cool, you know?
The burst mechanic, you mean?
Yeah, the burst mechanic, not the style mechanic, which I still don't really think is that useful. I never noticed a tangible difference in damage and stuff.
Yeah. It's really only useful for characters like Clark, who get mass hard buffs with their style up.
Yeah.
Or like spending style, like spending all your style. It's basically you just build style for your burst ultimately.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And unfortunately, Clark is such a cool concept and just so useless.
He's so I wrote down like every character. Like normally for these JRPGs, we go through like each character in the party, and we talk about like how they affect the story and everything like that. But like a game like Cosmic Star Heroine is interesting because it's actually pretty limited in like terms of like story overall. You know, it's pretty straightforward. You are fighting the government evil organization, conspiracy to stop them from mind controlling everyone. Like there's not really a lot of nuance or like shocking twists, like subversive material. It's a pretty straightforward classic style JRPG.
There was only a single twist in the plot where I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And otherwise, I mean, and that's probably the other thing that leaves me a little lukewarm on Cosmic Star Heroine, is that I wasn't in love with the battle system by the end of it, and I wasn't terribly invested in the story by the end of it. So I was just kind of like, by the time the game was over, I was like, that was all right, and then I moved on, you know?
Yeah, like for better or for worse, this is a game that like I think more than a lot of other like retro style games, this one actually feels like it was on the Saturn or on the PS1.
100%, this feels like an actual Sega Saturn JRPG, you know, like your Phantasy Star or whatever the hell was on the Saturn. Like
a weird like cult classic game that you kind of find in like a convention trade room for like $700 sealed package, you know.
Yeah.
It's holy shit, it's Cosmic Star Heroine. Everyone needs to play this game. It's a classic. But, it came out this year.
And then you play it and you're like, oh, this is a classic, you know? Because there is really, the character development is really skimpy. Because it's a short game with 11 playable characters.
Yeah.
You know?
It's, when I was playing this, I was I kind of appreciate like a smaller scale, 20-hour RPG compared, especially compared to, you and I playing fucking Persona 5 and Tales of Berseria.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, it's kind of nice to roll back to a classic, shorter game like this. But then by the end, I'm like, this game could have used 10 more hours.
This game could have used 10 more hours and a lot of somehow still trimming some of the extraneousness. Again, I just can't let go of this battle. My hang-ups over the battle system. Mostly because if your battle system by the end of the game is like, I'm bored, then maybe something's gone wrong.
Well, now it's funny because I had the opposite of you, actually, where I started off being really bored with the battle system because the battles would take forever. But once I started really, really exploring with the subsystems and the synergy, I'm like, oh, holy shit! I can do 10,000 damage in one round.
Right?
If I cast this buff and I use this attack to get this much more style, and then I can spend all of it on this attack because this enemy is weak to that, and I won.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Absolutely. And again, it's very taste-based.
Mm-hmm.
If you're everything you're hearing, if you're listening to this episode and you're like, that sounds great, you will love Cosmic Star Heroine. But by the end of it, I was just a little lukewarm on it. But there are things I really like. I was mostly blown away by the here's a big word for you, verisimilitude.
Okay.
In that it felt very much like an actual old Saturn game. Like when I was the whole time I was playing this game, I was just like, wow, this is unbelievably legit. Like, this is so spot on that I wonder, just like, how did they even? Because usually when these retro RPG games try to ape an old 80s, 90s style, you can still kind of be like, this is modern, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Not Cosmic Star Heroine.
Like, even games like Shovel Knight, like, you can tell that this is a modern game that's being made in a old style, but Cosmic Star Heroine, like, everything from, like, the character design to the, the pixel art, the way the cutscenes are played out, like, the dialogue and the music, the sound effects, all of that, just, it really feels like you're just playing it like a modern port of a game that came out in, like, 2001.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really interesting, and the only thing I think I was telling you when we were talking about it as we were playing through it, the only thing that could even hint that it's a modern game that's just aping the style is the number of cutscenes, which there are a ton.
There are tons.
There are tons of cutscenes. Very long cuts, not very, very long, but I'm thinking of the singing, the Lauren doing her singing thing.
Yeah.
That was really long, and that's really the only giveaway, because like an old Sega Saturn JRPG did not have the kind of space to pull that off. And it's like, oh, there are so many cutscenes here. Wait a second. Wait just a damn minute.
Now, the one thing that, like, speaking of these cutscenes, that they could have done that would have been, like, really, really cool.
Yeah.
Is, really, really old, poor animation, FMV, anime style, you know?
Yeah. Oh, man. Like Lunar.
Yes!
Lunar was originally a Sega Saturn RPG. And when it was ported to the PS1, they redid all the cutscenes to make them look nice. But if you go watch the old Lunar and Lunar 2 Sega Saturn cutscenes, they don't look great.
They're, you like the super compressed, like, no way they can actually fit, like, spoken dialogue into them. It's all subtitled, or like there's just nothing.
It could fit onto a floppy disk, you know what I mean?
that would have been, like, the perfect touch. But like the pixel style, like, sliding frame ones are still very reminiscent of that whole aesthetic. I thought a lot of, like, Police Knots.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh, I would love to see this team make a Police Knot style visual novel.
Yeah.
Because they would nail that 80s, that good old fashioned 80s-ness.
Give us an Orson spinoff.
Oh my god. Oh my god. No, I want a Clark spinoff. I'd much rather see a Clark game than an Orson game.
Clark's game would be a rhythm game, though.
Oh my god, absolutely. That would be so cool. Oh, like an old. Were there rhythm games back in the day?
I mean, there's DDR. DDR has been around forever.
Well, I mean, like on the NES and the SNES.
Oh, no, not like
right?
that.
That's like that's a fairly new, not new-ish genre, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, there was it was the little details that kind of kept me invested in the game. Just the appearance and the fact that it was like if you smashed Final Fantasy VII and Chrono Trigger together, that really kind of helped keep me on board. I just kept, like, especially in the beginning of the game. I was like, oh, this just makes me think of FF7 with this whole like space diesel punk aesthetic they had going.
Yeah.
It was cool. There's a lot of cool detailing in this game.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of like little, even like mechanically, it's one of those things where like you play a game and you play this game and like it does something and you think like this should be the default, you know. Opening a chest, getting an item, and the item says this item is for this character and it does this.
Yeah, that's really nice.
So nice.
It's such a small quality of life thing that I'm just like, how have we never had other games do this, you know?
Yeah, like Tales games, you know, everyone has like their own specific equipment, so it's like you pick up thing, it's like, oh, you picked up this, and it's like it has a little dual swords icon, or it has a little boot icon to indicate like, oh, it's for this character. But like, to have it say, the weapon is for this character, the weapon also has this bonus attached to it.
Right.
And so that way you know right away, like, oh, yeah, I want to equip that right now.
Right. Yeah. Although, I will say, the one thing that kind of cheesed me off about the game is that for Alyssa, she can do team attacks, right?
Yeah, if you get the leadership bag.
But it's only it's like only that one piece of armor. And it doesn't carry on to the rest of her armor. I'm like, that's kind of a weird thing. It's fine, but if you're gonna have that kind of be like a mechanic, then hang on to it, I guess. Like, it
also helped that like stat wise the leadership bag was a good piece of equipment.
Yeah.
In general, like it had a high defense setting, so you wouldn't be like, oh well, I need the protection,
right?
So I got to drop this cool mechanic.
Right. Yeah. I just wish it had been just like Alyssa is the main character, so she just has this as a mechanic,
Right. I get that.
It's fine. That's just a nitpicky thing. Because there's the mechanics of the game itself are really kind of the selling point of Cosmic Star Heroine. The number of combinations of things you can do is just excellent.
I told you when you first kind of started this and getting a few hours in, and it kind of hit me like, and I was like halfway through the game, where I'm like, this is playing Sentinels of the Multiverse.
Yes, yeah, Sentinels of the Multiverse, and a very excellent card game. I don't know how many people know about it.
It's popular enough that it keeps getting expansion packs. But yeah, if you guys like tabletop games and you have played Cosmic Star Heroine, give Sentinels a try, because like the idea of building basically building a card deck that you have to reshuffle once you've spent all your moves is like that's what playing Sentinels is like.
Yeah.
Making sure your moves are compatible not with yourself but also with your teammates. And I really realized that when I got Clark. And I'm like, oh, Clark's whole thing is playing well with others at the expense of himself. Okay, now I get it.
Mortify.
I love that.
I love that move. I love that move. Just Clark.
Clark. So what I do want to do, like before we like, if there's anything like other general stuff we want to get to first, but like kind of like the core of it, is I want to just go down the 11 party members and talk more mechanically what you thought of them more than story, because like again, like once they join the party they kind of stop being characters and they just become like mechanics. Unfortunately. So there is a few other cool things. Again, the enemy designs are really fucking cool. The settings are like fucking jaw-dropping amazing pixel art.
Oh my god, they're so beautiful.
The music is super catchy.
It's I was like hearing the battle theme in my dream.
It gets in there. It gets in. The boss theme is so good. I only wish there had been more of it. I think there's only 2 battle themes and 2 boss themes. I know it's only a 12-hour game, but I wish there had been like another one. Oh, it's fine. I like that every enemy has like a little description about them.
Yes.
I adore flavor text in like anything and everything.
And there's so much flavor text in this game.
There's
a
much.
ton of flavor text in this game. I was thinking of when you're going through the mines with Cybe and you're trying to get that crystal thing.
Mm-hmm.
Every single one of the computer screens in the mines has different flavor text, and it's all generally the same thing, which is, hey, the power's out, the computer doesn't work. But all of that flavor text, each one is different. It's like the same idea, but there are different jokes attached to each of them. And I'm like, this is a lot of effort.
There's you can't deny there is a ton of effort put in this game.
Oh, absolutely.
And like you can absolutely appreciate it for that alone. It's just like these guys, Zeboid Games, they have done a few other things. They've done Cthulhu Saves the World. Okay. They did episode 3 and 4 of the Penny Arcade Adventures games.
Oh, right.
That like steampunk Lovecraftian like RPG thing.
Yep.
And then they've done this, and like there's definitely a ton of talent and like heart and passion put into this.
Yeah.
Like,
and I get now why there's a ton of Cthulhu reference game. They made Cthulhu Save the World. Yeah. Right. Okay.
Yeah, now it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Robert Zeboid clearly has a thing for the Cthulhu mythos.
Cthulhu is an optional boss in this game. Did you know that? Did you know that?
Yeah, I did know that.
I couldn't beat him. I was like, you know what? Nope, I don't care. But yeah, Cthulhu is an optional boss in this game, which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah, there's you know, I want these guys to keep design, because like, you know, obviously this is harping off of Chrono Trigger. Like this is very like they flat out say like in the Kickstarter, like if you like Chrono Trigger, you're going to like this.
Right.
And it's, you know, anyone can say, oh, we're like Chrono Trigger, and that we have pixel art and we have team attacks and like battlefield centric like abilities, you know.
Yeah.
These designs, these areas, the characters, the monsters feel Toriyama inspired.
Yeah, they're very authentic. Some of the designs are stronger than others, for sure. There's a few in them I was just kind of like really middling about.
Mm-hmm.
But as like an overall aesthetic, I think they nailed it. Just that there's a really good attention to detail and an understanding of what makes it seem real as the style of game they're going for. And yeah, there's just a lot of dedication put into it that even if, like I said, I'm just kind of okay with this game, it's still impressive just as a labor, you know?
Yeah. You know, that's really what I like about doing Indie Week and like doing that, is that, you know, we do Indie Week about games that are like, you can see the heart in them.
The effort, yeah. And for the record, and I'll repeat this at the end of the podcast, it is on sale. It's Steam Sale Week. It is June 24th, 2018, as we're recording this. This is the Steam Summer Sale, and this game is only $7.50.
Pick it up. It's like...
If you like the idea of a slower, more combination-based battle system, then this game is absolutely for you. It's $7.50. It's totally worth your time.
I'm very interested in seeing eventual speedruns of this game.
Yeah.
Because I want to see, like you said, the battles take a long time to complete, and that's because the game wants you to encourage not just like mashing through attack.
Right.
And they want you to like mess around. So like, I'm really curious to see like, how do you speed up this? Like what party, like ideal party setups? Like who do you have? What do they have equipped to them?
Right.
And like, how do you get through these battles quickly? I want to see what that looks like.
Yeah. You know, I think now that I'm thinking about it, the one mechanic I think this game needed to warm me up to it more, and maybe if they make another game in this style, they'll think about it. There should have been some kind of move mechanic.
Like move your position as a character?
Yeah.
Speaking of Chrono Trigger inspired games, that Black Sigil game I keep talking about all the time.
Yeah.
That actually has that in it.
Does it? Okay.
Where you can spend your turn, you have like a short like movement meter, and you can spend it like manipulating yourself to a different part of the environment.
Yeah, because there are certain characters, I'm thinking of like Lauren's Wind Attack, that it technically says it's an AoE where it can hit anything within a certain range, but very rarely are enemies in that area. Like you can't attack an enemy and move it back closer to another enemy that would then you, because that would open up an even a bigger depth of stuff you can do.
Yeah.
Because the AoEs in this game have a kind of a limited area. And if you had the ability to manipulate yourself on the battlefield and your enemies on the battlefield, I think that would have been a nice step towards broadening this battle system to really, you could get like incredibly in-depth in. It would almost start towing into tactics game territory with that. And that would be really interesting.
You're not wrong. That would really emphasize, like, you know, constructing this, you know, this battle system into something that, like, really strategy oriented.
Yeah, and I think that would have helped it with some of the moments when it's kind of more of a slog, where if you're thinking like, well, if I can just move this enemy here, then it'll hit, you know, this attack will hit two of them at the same time. Yeah, that would have been a really interesting thing. I think there's a lot of room for improvement with this. I really enjoy this battle system as a concept. I watched a few honestly, this is so weird. I watched a few of battles after I finished the game to kind of see other combos and stuff that people did. And I turned the video speed up to 2 times at, like, you know, like twice the speed.
Yeah.
And I honestly think if I could have just played the game like that, honest to God, if the battles, like the animations themselves, were twice as fast, that would have helped me immensely. And that's such a stupid, nitpicky thing, but it's, you know, if you're playing modern JRPGs and you go back and you play an old JRPG, sometimes the thought in your head is, man, this is really slow. Like, we've been playing Chrono Cross, you and I.
Yeah.
And sometimes I love that game, like, with all my heart. And sometimes I'll go and I play that, and I'm like, why are these animations slow? We talked a lot also about that during Final Fantasy 12, where it's like, God, I really love that you can just fast forward it, and then it's like, I probably shouldn't enjoy that, because that's like, that's not really like an improvement. More so, it's fixing a mistake. Yeah, that's fixing an old mistake, you know. But I love it. I mean, the other one. Persona 5's battle system, so, like, it's been described, I think Yahtzee described it as feeling almost like a rhythm game.
Yeah.
Part of what makes it feel like that is that attacks go really fast and everything just happens really quickly, and you're like, this is really nice. And I just wish more like, when I go back and I play old games, I'm like, I need a fast forward button, please. All games should come with fast forward. Chrono Cross's New Game Plus has a fast forward button.
Of course it does, but not the base game.
Not in the base game, but in New Game Plus, it has a fast forward button, and it's like, I think that's where Square Enix got the idea. You know, like, all of their remasters these days have a fast forward button, and I feel like they initially took that idea from CC's New Game Plus, because it's a great idea.
It is.
Because, like, with a dedicated fast forward, we are really getting off topic now, but that's what this podcast is about. With a dedicated fast forward button, you can play, like, the first 5 hours of the game and be like, oh yeah, I can appreciate the animations. You can watch them, and then after you've seen them 10 times, you're like, all right, I'm good. I can fast forward. Now I can fast forward through them. I just think it's a really great idea. And if you're gonna have a not Tales-style JRPG where things aren't happening in real time, but they're happening in turn-based, I think that should come standard. I'm starting to think that should definitely be just a standard option in pretty much every turn-based JRPG. Yeah.
So there's a few things, like I said, like, this game does a lot of like this should be the default, this should be the norm. The party list, like the turn list, should be a default in, like, all of these turn-based RPGs, because it's great, you know?
Final Fantasy X did that, and it's a shame it still hasn't caught on.
Right? Like, this is like Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, if you're playing a turn-based game, I want to know. I really love in Cosmic Star Heroine, especially if you do like the songs, like the attack songs or the regen songs that Lauren and Saibi have.
Yeah.
I love, or like Arete's drone. Once you initiate that action, it will slot into the turn list.
Yeah.
When that's going to happen in the turn, so you can kind of go like, oh well, after I get attacked, then the regen and the attack auto things will happen immediately after that, and you can kind of plan accordingly around that. Like I dug that. I love those things. It should definitely come standard if you have just your standard turn-based JRPG. Persona.
Right. Yeah, Persona needs a turn, because it's easy to figure out what the turn order is, but it's still like, just show me at the beginning.
Yeah, just show me at the beginning. I know there's a next button. I know there's a button in Persona that shows like who's next, but that button should just show, instead of who's next, it should just show me the turn order.
Yeah.
So,
I love the mechanic of if you have enough style, you can survive a mortal blow and you'll get a chance to recover.
Yes. Or you can, if you're in the negative HP. I like the idea of negative. And the fact that your next attack, if you're in the negative, will do like double damage.
Yeah. There are certain skills that only trigger when you're in the negative. But it's very reminiscent of what Earthbound does too, which is the rolling HP counter.
I haven't played Earthbound yet.
If you take a mortal blow in Earthbound, your HP is it's like an old fashioned ticker, like a revolving ticker thing.
Yeah, I remember that part at least.
If you get hit with an attack and it's a mortal blow,
yeah.
If you can beat the ticker before it hits 0, you can recover your HP.
That's really interesting.
Because the way it works is you set your commands, and then the commands all go one after another. You go through Ness, Paula, Jeff, and Pooh, and they do you give the command, and then once all 4 of them are commanded, they do the action. So if one of them takes a hit, if you get Ness to cast healing, and then you just mash through attack,
right?
And before the counter hits 0, you can recover without getting KO'd.
Oh, that's really smart, man. I probably should play Earthbound at some point, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I probably should play Earthbound. Because there's a lot of games that crib from it the way that a lot of games crib from Chrono Trigger. Yeah, I should probably make time for that at some point. Shit.
Yeah.
But
that's little cool things like that. And then there's also things that it's could be fixed. A lot of enemies do have a lot more HP than they probably should.
Yeah. I was watching, like I said, some of the battles on YouTube, even with the speed up to 2 times. Some of these fights were still taking 2 or 3 minutes. I'm like, okay, we get it. We get it. It's a very delicate balance because how to articulate this? Spending too long in battle can for one, the music can start to grate, no matter how good your battle theme is, unless you're the music can start to grate and you're just this is really time I could be spending doing other things. I don't necessarily have a problem with the grind, is the thing. When a game is well, we've eliminated the grind, I kind of feel like some of my player agency has been taken away, which is a weird thing. But I was thinking about it before we got on the call. I was actually thinking about it in the shower. This idea of Cosmic Star Heroine, if you just play on the rails, if you don't go and find the little extra battle places on the map, there's a few kind of off the beaten path places where you can get in a fight. Generally speaking, you will end the game at around level 50 to 55. Well, around level 50. And so if you're just playing the game straight up and there's no options to grind on the actual story-based maps, then it almost feels kind of like you're on a rail. Does that make sense? I know that's a weird thing, but it makes me think of Final Fantasy 13. That's the point I'm trying to make. Where
I kind of get what you mean with that.
Yeah, it's hard to put into words. So
yeah, because there also is a way to grind if you need to.
Yeah.
There's the prompt in the menu where you can click on battle, and you will replay the last like generic battle you had.
Oh, okay.
And that gives you EXP.
Right.
So like it's not like you're not just like redoing it for the fun of it. Like if you need like a little bit more to level up someone, you can just replay your last battle.
Okay.
And that's the grinding system.
Yeah. Oh. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, like cause like they didn't like quite really like show it off like in like okay, so there's
I don't even remember being told about that, but maybe it's been a while.
There's like two ways like a game can like present information to you. One is like it's in the like most RPGs will have like a guide and it's like, well, here's what this means, here's what this means, here's what this means.
Right.
The other way, which is what Cosmic Star Heroine does for like a lot of its other mechanics, is you have the characters talk about it.
Right.
And the battle replay thing was not like talked about amongst characters, so like it's pretty easy to like either like like when it is shown to you, like you either ignore it or you forget about it, or you know you don't even consider what it would mean. You just don't even like think about it.
Where is that in the menu?
It's like a few down, like it's just called battle.
Oh.
And all that does is bring you into like you just replay the last battle you fought.
Well, now I sound like a jackass, but you know what? My point still stands because that was poorly explained.
Yeah, so like there is, and it's, but again, the other thing is that like there's not really a need to. Like if you are just playing it pretty straightforward, like you don't really need to grind like at all. You're never going to be like in a spot of like particular danger unless you get like sloppy with the rhythm of your moves, you know?
Right, yeah. And I don't know how I feel about that, you know?
Mm-hmm. It's a unique concept, but like they needed to emphasize it to like show it off, you know?
Yeah. And maybe it's just I'm kind of like a weirdo. I kind of like the grind. And maybe it's just that I've played JRPGs for too long that I'm just kind of like desensitized myself to the grind. And if you don't like the grind, then again, hey, this is absolutely a game for you. This is very personal. I think this is a very subjective game because of the interesting things it does with its mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it is subjective. It's very much, it's like, if you like concept X, Y, and Z, then Cosmic Star Heroine is powerfully for you. And if you don't, then you'll be left a little lukewarm on it, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's things that like it tries and either it fails or it doesn't, or it succeeds, and it's like it's personal choice, but like I commend them for trying. You know,
yeah, 100%.
Basically.
Yeah, it's still an interesting experiment, no matter what.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about these mechanics.
Right. Yes.
Because there's 11 party members plus all the like little side characters you can recruit that give you like certain buffs in battle.
Yeah, although I only ever use the one that buffs your physique because his physical attacks are the most useful in the game.
Yeah. Which one make me hit harder? That's the one I want.
It's a very Patrick Boyven way of playing a game. Just upgrade the base pistol. That's it.
Yep.
That's it. Let's talk about these characters.
Let's talk about them all. So we got Alyssa, who is your main character.
And she plays like a main character, but tanky.
Oh, she's like, I'm glad you're forced to have her all the time because boy is she tough.
She tanky. I was actually really surprised because usually the standard JRPG mechanic is the main character is the most balanced character, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But no, Alyssa's pretty consistently just there to hit things hard.
Yeah. She has a great setup where she has an attack where if they're below half their HP, it does more damage, or they have one that will just do a ton of damage, but you can't KO them with it.
Right.
Which is basically a great 1-2 punch.
Oh yeah, 100%.
You know, you get her like a damage up. You hit them with the pacifist attack, and then you follow it up with the finisher.
Yep.
Like that's great.
Yeah, no. And her combo attack system is, for me, it's one of the selling points of the game. I wish it had been introduced a little bit earlier because it is so much fun. It's great. All of those pretty much every combo that you can do is useful.
Yeah.
You know? Especially the one with Arete, whatever.
Yeah. Hers and then hers with Sue are also like fucking really, really good.
Yeah, they're really good. It's really strong.
I like the idea of taking like the base mechanic of Chrono Trigger's dual attacks, which are, you know, just like special attacks, and turning them into like a really strong, like super like ability, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's really, really cool.
Yeah, it's an interesting approach to the dual tech concept where it's a one-use thing. I don't think you can even recharge it the way you can. Can you recharge it the way you can all your other attacks? You can't.
No, they're once per battle. You get one per battle.
Thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So they're just these incredibly powerful once per battle abilities, and it's up to you to use them wisely, which is really great.
Yeah. So she's really, really cool to use in battle, and plus she's kind of got like a little bit of everything. She can heal, she can buff defensively.
All of her like leadership buff skills are great. I think toward the end of the game it's either a staff or a bag. I can't remember which that lets Inspire affect the whole party.
Yeah, that one's so really
good. It's really good.
Because, you know, like late game, it becomes like, well, if it can't buff everyone, I'm not going to do it. Then you get a staff, it's like, oh, Inspire hits everyone now. Oh,
that's so good. Now everybody is inspired. Yeah. That's great. Because, again, it helps speed up the system, speed up the battle. It's excellent. So, yeah. She's just, it's an interesting approach to the balanced main character where she can do a little bit of everything, but she just can't really she has like water-based attacks, but they're not really what she's there for.
Yeah, like I kept like some of them on because they're just AoE, like they hit everyone, and that's just good damage, but
she has that one that hits everything on the screen regardless, and that's kind of the only one that was the only water ability of hers. Because it's a good like maybe we can finish off the whole group with just one big blow, you know?
Yeah. And then next is Chan.
Chan is fine. She's kind of like a required character. You know?
Yeah, she gets a lot of uniqueness, like a unique she's spread out like a great deal. She can hit pretty hard.
Yep.
She can heal. She can remove status effects. I think she gets a revive.
Yes, she does get a revive.
Yeah,
she gets a revive, which is vital.
Yeah, because like her and like one other character get a revive.
Yeah. But it's really just that her attacks kind of play well with others. That is what makes her kind of necessary, you know?
Yeah.
Like her and Alyssa kind of pair well together, and that's what... the thing is, we were joking, is kind of like the female characters in this game are like the most useful ones.
Yeah, Alyssa, Chan, Lauren, Arete... they're like, that's a solid build right there.
That's a pretty strong party comp. And, you know, all of their abilities, they play really well together. You have, like, your speedy thief kind of character. You've got a tank, a healer, a mage with the whole... That's like a perfect even spread.
Yeah.
And then there's the dudes.
Yeah.
Whoops. But Yeah, who's Dave is next?
Yeah, speaking of the dudes.
Oh, Dave. So, pretty much as soon as I could take Dave out of my party, I did.
I really tried to find, like, okay, well, what is their, like, niche? What role in the thing do they fill, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I could not find one for Dave after a while.
Even his robot-based attacks are not great.
No, he only gets, like, 2 or 3 attacks that actually just deal damage in general, and the rest is all spent on, like, buff and debuff, and, like, random chance things that it's just, like, I get it, but you are not, like, useful in many environments.
The problem, any random chance character will always be sidelined for me every time without fail, because why would I go with a random chance character when I could go with characters who are more consistent, you know? Like, maybe some of the stuff Dave does is more like it has a chance to do more damage, but that is just like a chance. Why would I go with that instead of a character who I know consistently do something else, right?
Right, I would rather deal 100 damage consistently than maybe do 500 damage.
Right, yeah. Oh, sorry, Dave.
Yeah.
As soon as I got other characters, I was like, bye, Dave! Bye, Dave! You're no use to me. You're just kind of a waste of my party slot.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
It's also the problem I have with, like, these characters, some of these characters that I just, like, dropped immediately, but I still bought equipment for them, because maybe...
Well, that's the thing with this whole, like, they switch in story missions, they'll just swap your party comp up sometimes.
Yeah.
It's like, well, they might be useful. I might be forced to use them at some point. So I should keep them up to date. But money is, like, not even an issue in this game.
Oh, yeah, no. You get loaded. Like, but it's like you don't want to run into the Kamari problem where, like, no one used Kamari at all until, like, they had to fight a boss battle with just him. And they're like, oh, shit.
Fuck. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, no.
Don't want that.
So is Sue next?
Yeah, Sue is next.
Sue is good.
Sue's, like, he is just, like, if you just want numbers, if you want high numbers.
Yeah. Sue's numbers go up. Sue goes go up.
Sue's number is very large, and that makes him good.
But kind of it's weird. Kind of not. Like, again, there's a reason why the, like, ideal party comp for most of the game is, like, the girls, because Sue is big numbers good, but he doesn't have a lot that plays well with others.
No, he really doesn't.
And this is a system that's kind of based around setting up, like, a big gambit attack that's, like, you know, this person does this, and this person does this, and this person does this, and then it all comes together, and it's a big punch-in-the-face attack. And Sue is, I guess, the person you would put all that stuff on. But... Yeah,
I was about to say, like, Sue is good, like, if you put your buffs on Sue.
Right.
Like, if like, you kind of make him, like, the team lead at that point.
Right.
He's really good, but he's also really good because he's got a ton of HP and a ton of defense.
Right.
And he has has abilities to take hits for people. He has counter, which is great because
counter rules.
Anything that hits him, not even, like, targeted attacks, like any, like, AoE attack or, like, all enemies, he will counter it.
Yeah, and it's permanent. It stays the whole battle, right?
Yeah. I think either the whole battle or, like, 5 turns.
Yeah, which is functionally almost the whole battle sometimes. So yeah, Sue is kind of a specific character. He's not as broad as some of the other characters, but if you want just, like, a really tanky person who just hits things good and you want to buff that one character, Sue's a good character for bosses.
Oh, yeah, that's like, you bring him into a boss fight because, he will just keep dealing damage to that boss.
Yeah. Sue is good for bosses, not so much for regular on-the-field encounters. I think that's what it is.
which the nice thing about that. Oh, I'm sorry. No. Go ahead first.
No. I was gonna say no. I was. You go ahead.
Okay. What's nice about that is that, again, this is one of those cool things that this game does that like should be the norm, which is every party member gains the same EXP no matter if they're in the battle or not.
That is honestly the best part of this game. It's just how it should always be. Persona 4. Persona 4, oh my god. Otherwise known as, if you haven't been using this character, you never will.
Yep.
Yeah, that should just be the norm. Chrono Cross does something very, very interesting with that, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
We'll get to that eventually.
Yeah, it's just very nice to like not have to worry about like constantly rotating, because again, 11 characters.
That's a ton of people. I think the only JRPG I've ever, not counting games like Chrono Cross and Suikoden, where it's gimmick, is that you can recruit like 5,000 characters. You know, like just your standard JRPG with a cast, like a normal cast. I think the only game I've played with more characters is Exelia 2. Because I think Exelia 2 has... Fuck, I can't count it right now. It's a lot. Actually, I think maybe Cosmic Star Heroine has more? Anyways.
No, it definitely has more, because Exelia had 6, plus the additional 3.
Right, so it's 9.
So 9,
so
yeah.
Cosmic Star Heroine has the most I've ever seen in like your standard, not Suikoden style JRPG.
Yeah, I don't know if Final Fantasy 6 would count for that, because 6 has like 16, I think. But again, I think that's part of the like, in the second half of the game, that's the gimmick, is recruiting the whole gang back together.
I guess the question is, can you finish Final Fantasy 6 without the whole crew?
Yeah, you can finish it with 3 characters.
Okay, then that's definitely its gimmick. Then it's not the same as Cosmic Star Heroine.
Yeah, where you are whatever you do, you are given 11 characters.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways, who's after?
Next is Lauren.
Lauren is interesting.
Lauren's like whole setup is, she and Clark are like the very situational characters. I kept Lauren on a lot because she could deal heavy damage right away, because she has an attack that's, if they're at full HP, you deal like 1.5 extra damage, and she also, her equipment usually gives her what's it, the overcharge thing, where like you start off with like the little glow effect.
Yeah, you start off in burst mode or whatever.
Yeah. And so that's great, because that stacks with each other.
Yep.
So you can just, like, first enemy you attack just gets a ton of damage thrown at them.
And if you play it smart and you focus all your attacks on that one enemy, and then another enemy, you can kind of keep that train going. Plus her the status effect attacks are pretty consistent. They affect pretty consistently, you know?
Now, speaking of that, there's one problem I did kind of have with this, is that I said this game gives you a lot of information, you know? Like, here's the enemy, here's their weakness, here's like a brief little description of them. What they didn't do a very good job of explaining is what class each enemy was. Like, because, like, there are certain status effects that only affect certain types of enemies. Like, robots can only be affected with rust, you can only affect organic enemies with poison, you can only affect spectral enemies with ghost. There are certain enemies where I'm like, I don't know what you are, and I don't know if my poison attack just didn't poison you, or if you're immune to poison.
Yeah, like some of the robot that I think are supposed to be like people in like robot suits.
Yeah.
But I can't tell sometimes. I'm like, are you a people or are you a robot? Can I poison you or not?
You're introduced to a race of robot bugmen.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, so this, like, kind of mechanically looking grasshopper, is it a bug or is it a robot enemy? I can't tell.
I don't know what to do. Cosmic Star Heroine.
Yeah, so, like, you know, when you know the enemy type, Lauren can, like, super affect, you know, status elements like crazy all over. But again, it's like, I gotta know first.
But I guess the one good thing is her attack that stuns enemies almost always stuns somebody. And so
Yeah.
you can pretty consistently remove like one element out of the turn order for a single turn, and that can be a great way to shift the tide of battle. So I mean, that alone is a good reason to keep her around.
Yeah.
So
yeah, she's very versatile. She's got a good solid like HP, just damage output as well, just like regular attacking.
She has songs too.
Yeah.
Some of her accessories and armor can give her like a regen song or an attack song. It's not as effective as Saidi's songs, but early in the game, the regen song will save your ass.
Yeah, it's super. I was using it like the entire game almost.
Yeah, it's pretty useful.
Yeah, either with Lauren or with Saibi. Like, yeah, you can just pass that along. Like, that's great.
And then those do last all fight unless you discontinue them, which is amazing. So is Arete next? Arete?
No, next is the one that you always forget about. Next is Finn,
Finn is the most forgettable character in this game.
Poor Finn.
He's such a nothing. His everything sucks.
I think it's hilarious in that I was playing the game. Like you said, this game is not really like super story heavy, you know? Like, it's very straightforward. Finn's part of like the military or like the police force, right?
Right.
He never ever once mentions that he basically kind of dropped everything to help his second cousin in their revolutionary war battle.
His second cousin who he's spoken to like 3 times in his entire life. He's just like, yeah, let me drop everything.
Yeah, like he's just on the ship now, and like I guess he's all in with this now. I guess he's
all in, but he's super super useless. Like Finn might have less going for him than Dave.
The problem with Finn is that Finn is like kind of set up to be like a heavy hitter, like damage output.
But he doesn't hit hard.
Yeah, like none of his attacks actually do like tons of damage, Yeah.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah, I don't know. Late in the game, I'm like, you know what? Okay, once I kind of got the flow of okay, well, here's what the game is actually about.
Right.
Here's how the battles are supposed to go. I'm like, okay, well, let's put Finn in for a little bit and let's kind of see what we can get. Like, let me try a few things around. And I'm like, he doesn't he doesn't get benefits from enemy types. He doesn't deal a ton of damage at all. He only has a few attacks that are designed to hit hard, but he gets outpaced by Alyssa or Sue.
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, and he doesn't really have any attacks that play well with others.
Yeah. Like
Lauren, and he doesn't do status effects. I don't even think he has a heal, so Finn is the most pointless character in this.
It's a shame. There's got to be one that you're just this is just not good.
It's not good. He's not good. Sorry, Finn. Sorry. Next.
Next is Arete.
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 I don't know. Visor chick.
Yeah, visor drone girl.
Yeah.
Who was a lot of fun to use with her drone.
Yeah, the drone is excellent. Oh my god, it's so cool.
Yeah. So let's real quick. We'll just say we're going to talk about characters we are in spoiler territory.
Yeah, not there's a lot to spoil in this plot, but the single thing that
single twist
catch me off guard is they just permanently killed her off, huh?
Yeah, she just left the party.
She turned traitor and left the party and died, and you still get equipment for her?
Yeah, that's one of the bullet points on my notes, which is why is so when I played this, I played it ahead of you.
Yes.
And I remember texting you, and I'm like, I think the game just revealed a big twist to me. I think I got that thing where the character's I am pure evil and I am attacking the party now. Find a good sword for them later, and you're like, oh, I guess they come back.
Yeah.
Or oh, I guess there's a new game plus because it's going to carry over, and we'll be able to equip it. It does not, and that's the other weird thing, is that,
What the fuck? This game doesn't have a New Game Plus in 28?
In the last dungeon, you find a weapon for Reddy, who has betrayed the party and then dies. And there's no New Game Plus to carry over to, like, give it to her.
Why?
Which makes me think that probably what happens is the game had a change in its script at some point where, like, they rearranged the weapon, like, the inventory, or, like, Reddy was going to come back for the final boss and you could give her that equipment.
Yeah.
But they decided to change that midway, and they didn't remove the chest with her equipment in it.
Or the only other thing I can think is that it is, because it's such a, like, old RPG callback thing, I almost could think it was intentional. Like, it was an intentional fuck up, you know?
I would like to believe it was intentional, where it's just like, you know, like we talk about with like how every N64 game is haunted.
Yes.
You know? Like, it's like that, where it's like, oh, they put this in here, so, like, back in the day, like, we can talk about, like, this is like a Saturn game. Like, this is basically a real-life Saturn game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, imagine finding a weapon for Eris on disc 2.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's what this would be.
That's totally it, 100%. And,
so, like,
I feel like it was intentional.
If it wasn't intentional, Zaboy Games is aware of it now and hasn't patched it out yet, which to me says either they're like, whatever, who cares, you know, no big deal, or they're kind of quietly leaning into it, like, yeah, that's what makes it feel like an old school game, which is, if this happened back in the day, like, there would be, the internet would be exploding with, here's how you bring a Reddy back for the party, you know?
Yeah, how to bring a Reddy back.
How to like, ensure a Reddy doesn't leave the party, or, like, you know, like, if you have her in the party the entire time, you never, ever take her out. If you have Alyssa constantly heal her every time, like, if she never passes out in battle, if she always, like, ends the battle in 100% HP, she won't leave the party, you know,
you have
all
to
those...
talk to this one character 100 times, and then they'll give you a thing that will let you save already or something, you know.
Like, for sure.
Yeah, 100%. So that's kind of what makes it contributes to that feeling of being like a genuine old Saturn game. But who knows? I mean, it's too easy to say, like, oh, that was intentional, but that feels kind of intentional.
It's one of those things where, like, it's so easy to fix.
Yeah.
That the fact that they haven't either says they don't care, which I don't want to believe that, because, you know,
there's a lot of love put into this game.
Robert Zaboyd is still on Twitter, like, hyping up his game. Like, there's no way, it's, you know, it came out, like, last year. Like, there's no way, you know, he's not aware of it, and B, that he would just, like, leave it alone. But, like, so I want to believe that, like, either it was a mistake or they did it on purpose, and they're just kind of having fun watching people talk about it.
Yeah, I could totally see that, 100%. So, the only other thing about Reddy is, the one major thing I just kind of want to comment about is how much I love her deck.
Yeah!
It's strong. It's good.
It's really good.
It's flashy. I love it. So, yeah.
She's very good.
Who's next?
Next is Clark, who is...
Oh, Clark.
God. So, the most the most inside joke thing I can say about Clark, and I mentioned this with you, and if you guys listen to Big Gay Nerds, you kind of have an inkling of it.
Yeah.
Clark is an Othar character.
100% is just an Othar character. Yeah.
If, like, you know, you guys who listen to both podcasts know how Othar plays characters.
Yep.
In the games that we've played personally, like, you get a feel for what Othar likes. Like, I love Clark because of that.
That's hilarious, and it's so true.
It is so true.
Now, if only Clark was more useful.
Yeah, if only Clark, like, could actually, like,
do things.
The thing about Clark is that, like, I kind of like Sue. He's really good in boss fights because you can cast the save reset.
Yeah. The
save quit on him. And so, like, you can save his big attacks for, like, when you need a heal or when you need to do tons of damage, you know?
Right.
Without the downside of having him go down.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, but like his like wind attacks are not very good.
No, none of his attacks just on their own. It requires some deck building to make his attacks kind of worthwhile. And again, it's like the amount of deck building it requires takes too long. Mm-hmm. And generally speaking, you're trying to get these fights over in a slightly expedient way, you know?
Yeah.
So...
like, there are faster ways to get the same result, basically.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Like, Clark has his advantages, you know, Clark also gets he can get songs, like, a little bit. He works well with that equipment. And, you know, obviously his you know, he can, if you are, like, desperate to finish off the boss, you can just use Mortify and get that extra damage buff at the very end, like, if you need to, like, finish something off.
Right.
Because, again, what's nice is that even if they're KO, they still get the HP.
They still earn XP, which is excellent.
But considering how hard it is to revive people, and B, even so, like, how you can still do it, like, Clark's death mechanic is really finicky, and it's almost not worth it a lot of the time.
It's really not worth the effort, because the way this game is made, if you're running at less than optimal party, like if you only have 3 people on the field, you are gonna have a bad time.
Yeah.
Like, that's just how this game is made. If you don't have a full party, then it's gonna be rough. And so, unfortunately, that means Clark gets sidelined because a lot of his mechanics are based around being dead.
Yeah. Now again, there's a handful of abilities where if you use Safe Quit, you can just get the damage buff, you can get the massive amount of damage, or you can get the massive party heal, which I actually did that did save my ass a few times.
Yeah, for sure.
But again, like, there are other characters that work a little bit better for that.
That are more efficient. So, unfortunately, sorry, Clark.
And then we have 3 more that are like the really weird ones that I didn't expect to stick around the whole time because they're so weird and, like, you know, it's one of the, I texted you about it too, where I'm like, I think I just met the guy who's either going to die or leave.
It's a little strange.
Yeah, like, Saibi is a party member. Like, he's a fully fledged party member, and I did not expect him to stick around for the rest of the game.
I took Saibi to the final boss, yeah.
Saibi's really good.
Saibi's really, really good.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, his songs are great. His ability to end a song and have it do a ton of damage is excellent. If you can kind of make things play well together, you can stack his burst, you can stack Inspire, and then you can use the end song thing that does damage to everything on the field, and you can do a lot of damage just with that, which is just shocking.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, you meet him and he's like a robot Bugman, and you're just like, oh, this is shit gimmick character. No, Saibi, cool.
Yeah.
Sure.
And also, you know, that's the other thing about it, is like, he's so fucking good that it's like, oh, this is the temporary crutch character they're giving us.
Yes,
that,
absolutely.
Like, he's for this dungeon and then he'll die.
Yeah, because you only go with him and Alyssa at one point, right? Yeah,
like, it's a bit where it's only like him, Alyssa, and I think someone else is with you too. But, like, yeah, it's just like a handful of you, and, like, yeah, like, Saibi, like, you would think, like, he exists to fill the role of 2 characters because you don't have a full party at the time.
But no, you can take Saibi all the way, and you should 100% take Saibi off.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's good. And he's really, really good. So
yeah.
yeah. And then there's
Orson.
Orson, okay. I did not use Orson a lot. I'm sorry. I can't really speak intelligently.
He's one of the other characters, like Finn. He's not as bad as Finn,
right? But
it's like, I didn't have enough time with him to, like, figure out what his proper role is, you know?
Yeah.
He's got a really cool design, and I like the idea of, like, I like his town's idea.
Yeah. Yeah, where you can bring people back from the dead and they'll testify against you, and you have X amount of time to build.
Yeah, that's so cool.
I wanted to see the mayor come back from the dead.
Yeah,
I wanted that conversation to happen.
Yeah, I'm surprised it didn't end up happening, but I absolutely loved his ending vignette.
Oh my god, yeah.
Where he's in his office and style, and like the classy dame in the red dress comes in, but she's also the alien in the helmet.
Jar on her head? Yeah. It's so awesome. Oh man, that alone kind of sold.
Yeah.
You know, again, these characters are not like characters really.
Mm-hmm.
There's really not going along with on with them personality wise. But that kind of helped sell me on Orson more so. Just that this was really funny.
I also really liked Orson because every time Orson talked, the only thing I could hear was the 90s Spider-Man cartoon version of the Kingpin.
Yes! Totally. He's supposed to be, obviously, he's well, of course.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, I know what you mean, 100%.
Like, he's got that, kind of gruff attitude, and he's the big, heavier set guy, and it's I just saw him, and, all I could hear was Kingpin.
They're the one kind of, I wish there had been a few more, character moments in this game, because there's one really funny one, where you go to the waterfalls with Orson and Cybe, and Orson's like, this is beautiful, and Cybe's like, it's not very efficient, and I was like, that's funny, there should have been more of that.
Yeah, that's kind of the problem with this, is that, again, it's the same kind of problem that you have with, Final Fantasy VI, or even Chrono Cross, where it's when you have all these characters, the game has to, account for having any party combination, you know? Yeah. So what they end up doing is either just giving out generic dialogue, or, everyone but the mandatory party members just kind of shut up.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's kind of unfortunate, you know?
It is. It's a design, it's a symptom of having this kind of, game style. You have to give up something, obviously.
I honestly think they should have just stopped adding characters after Cybe and let the rest of the characters have more room to breathe. Mm-hmm. I think there are characters you could cut out. Finn.
Yeah, Finn.
Sorry,
or make Finn and Orson the buff party member, the operations party members.
Yeah, that would have been smart too, because then you could still have them in the game, but they weren't. Because neither of them, I don't really know much. I don't really like any of Orson's abilities. I just, he could have just been a side character. He should have stayed aside.
Mm-hmm. And then the last one is...
Don't even try.
Spell it? Z''XORV.
So,
I want to say Zorv?
I do want to say XORV.
Yeah, Z''XORV.
So XORV on its own is pronounced because you can pronounce X's like a K sound sometimes.
Yeah.
So Korv?
Zakorv?
Zakorv, maybe? Whatever, we're losing our minds trying to pronounce it. The bounty hunter guy.
The bounty hunter guy, who I, as a character, I fucking loved him. He just shows up at the very beginning and then shows up later, and all of his moves are bloodlust and
he's so he's literally just there for, and he's I don't care as long as there's a bounty, and it was great. He's so strong.
He's really strong.
He's if Sue, but crazier.
Mm-hmm. And
it's great.
He's just this weird, bug alien man with the cape and
a giant head, and it's awesome. Yeah. He looks kind of like a fucked up xenomorph, but not.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird.
And again, he's one of those guys when he's gonna show up for a little bit and then he's gonna leave. But no, you got him all the way. He shows up really late, but you get him until the end.
Yeah, I thought he was just gonna be a character for that one sequence where you fight the giant robot. But no, he shows up later and he's like, "Hi, I'm back," and it's oh, okay. And then he just kind of joins out of nowhere and sticks around, and it was just, it's a little weird.
it's kind of funny getting guys like Orson and Xorv who are like they're joining in on the "we're gonna do it, gang," like we gotta save the galaxy, but it's like Orson's like a just a weird noir PI, and like Corv is like just the bounty hunter.
Yeah, it's kind of like were they added as Kickstarter bonuses or something?
Potential, I don't know. I am great again. Like the idea of like doing something unique. Like I am great for these three characters, Sybe, Orson, and Corv, who are like.
We're never gonna get that name right.
We're never I don't know. I'm gonna have to ask Robert Boy. Like how do you say it?
How do you say his characters' names?
Well, like those guys like who are like for all intents and purposes designed to be like temporary party members,
right.
But again, like it's cool like to have them stick around,
Yeah, just to have the options, and I'm sure a player other than myself could find some way to get some good utility out of Orson and Corv or whatever the fuck his name is, and they could get some, because I didn't use him a lot either. I just didn't by that time. But the problem with adding those two, I'm just gonna say, so I don't have to try to pronounce names. The problem with adding them so late in the game is that at that point, my party comp had coalesced into what I was going to play the rest of the game. I had done my experimenting. I had done my let's play with this character and let's play with that character and see what I like. At that point, I had found the characters I really liked, who I was really comfortable with using, who I felt had a nice spread of abilities to do multiple things. And at that point, I was like, any new characters I get, I will not use unless you make them.
Mm-hmm. Right. Totally understandable. Because you get Corv like
2
right
hours before the game is over. Like
pretty much, yeah.
It's over. Yeah, it's weird. And so by that point, it's like, man, no, I don't need any more characters. I'm good, thanks. So it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. It's still a good game. It's still a lot of fun.
It's still a lot of fun. It's $7.50 on Steam. Like I said, totally worth it.
I liked the bit. I don't know if you noticed it, but when you fight Director Steele on New Loop, that fucking let's just straight up rip off the Magus fight. Walk in, have the things light up as you walk towards him.
Yep. A gimmick so nice they did. There's a lot of just visual callbacks to Chrono Trigger. Pretty much at every turn. What's
funny is that I talked about earlier how it's these look like Toriyama designs. I don't know if it was you, if it was you or just me, but Sean's whole design, from everything down to her posture as a sprite, feels like a Chrono Trigger character, like an NPC.
Because she's got that headband. I don't know. Something about the headband is yes.
The headband and the vest and just the way she kind of stands facing forward, she's kind of the way her positioning is that's like a Chrono Trigger NPC, right?
Yeah. Some of the I definitely think some designs were more. I think Dave's is really bad. Dave feels he doesn't look like a party member, Yeah, he looks like a support character.
Yeah, he looks like a mission control guy.
Yeah, he does not look like a kind of guy who should be running around the battlefield with everybody else. And he looks really out of place next to these. He looks like such a modern, hipster nerd guy that he just looks so out of place next to these characters who seem more thematically appropriate.
Yeah, even characters like Finn look more appropriate to be on the battlefield.
Than he's got the uniform and stuff, but Dave's just a schlubby nerd.
Yeah, Dave should have been in the cockpit and talking to you over the radio the whole time.
He should have been the pilot guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's fine.
Also, I love any game that gives you just a big spaceship that becomes your hub world.
Yes, any game with base building. I wish there had been more base building in the game to be you could, because for real, by the end of this game, you have so much money because you're not buying anything.
Yeah,
you're finding all of your equipment on the map, so you're not buying anything, and you don't need to buy items. You're just holding on to all this money, and it's let me spend it on something.
Yeah.
I need to use it on something. Why do you keep giving me open a chest and it gave me 35,000 credits? And I was like, that's nice. But what am I going to do with this, Cosmic Star Heroine?
I feel like the item thing was, again, like something they changed later in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Because,
and I like it.
I think it's super cool. I think
it's
the idea of, like...
idea.
You found a potion. Okay, you have potions now.
You just have them permanently.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's great. I loved that, but because of the way, like, the fact that you can only find either money or equipment on the world map, you could probably play Like, I once did a Tales of the Abyss run where I didn't buy anything from stores. I just used what I found on the map, and I actually was doing great by the end of the game. Like, I had all the good weapons just because that's how Tales of the Abyss functions. You could do the same thing with Cosmic Star Heroine very, very easily.
Oh, very easily. You can just use what you find in chests and stuff, without a doubt.
You don't need to buy anything in that game. So by the end of it, you're like rolling.
Yeah.
Just balling out of control.
Like, you literally have nothing you can spend it on. Like, once you get everyone's like gear, it's like, oh, I'm still finding chests with money in them.
Yeah, like, why am I still finding money? Couldn't you give me more accessories or something?
I think you find money in chests, like, in the last dungeon, even.
Where you can't buy anything.
Yeah.
You can't leave the last dungeon.
Yeah.
Like, you can't go back, and there's no new plus. So what am I doing with all of this shit, Cosmic Star Heroine?
I honestly think this is one of those games that could, like, hugely benefit from a New Game Plus.
Oh my god, a New Game Plus in this game would be amazing. Like, I would actually want to go back and play it because you would have all of your combos from the start, so you could just do all sorts of crazy shit. And so all of it would be front-loaded, right? So you could breeze through the beginning of the game, and then, like, I have, like, an optional dungeon that unlocks in New Game Plus, you know?
Yeah.
Be awesome.
There's a lot of cool things this game does, and there's a lot of things where I'm just like, why didn't you do it that way?
Yeah.
You know, like, you're clearly learning from past JRPGs, you know? Like, you're clearly learning, like, okay, well, we're going to do it this way because, you know, this fixes a problem you didn't really know existed. And then they don't fix, like, all the other things.
I guess it is a Kickstarted title. They probably ran out of time and resources, is all I can think. But, man... I wish the Switch version was adding new stuff, because this is a game I like well enough that if it had, like, a few tweaks, I would buy it again.
This is one of those games, and I'm sure it did well. I'm glad it did well, because this is one of those games where it's like, it's in a very small category for me, and that category is, God, I hope you get to try again.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. If they made another game, what they should do, since they made a Chrono Cross ripoff, they should make a the other way around. I messed up my joke. I messed up my joke! If they made a Chrono Trigger ripoff, the next game should just be like Chrono Cross, and, like, you know, like a huge stylistic setting change, but technically still set in the same universe. It'd be awesome. You
know, and that's, like, the really cool thing about this, is that, like, dude, this universe, you could do another game in this one super easily, and I hope they do, because,
it's
like,
super easy.
The world they've built is, like, really cool and fun, and I want to, like, keep exploring planets and stuff, and, like, you go to, like, a fucking old western town, but it's also got a huge casino, and then you do a casino heist, and Alyssa wears a dress, and... Yeah, there's, like, a fancy party sequence, which never, ever, ever gets old, ever. Never! Ever. All JRPGs should include a fancy party sequence. Nobody ever gets tired of them. And also the fact that Alyssa does, like, get a new dress out of it is, like, oh, she gets a cool new sprite for it, and, like, awesome! Yes! You are going in on it, and that's cool! I want a sequel that that irons out some of the kinks in this game, and I feel like if they sped the game up, and I mean literally, as in, like, it just all the animations played 2 times as fast. If they sped the game up and they kind of balanced HP and stuff a little bit better, Cosmic Star Heroine could have been truly great instead of just okay. So I think there's a lot of potential for a sequel. You know, I am very excited. I hope, like, I know they've done. This makes me kind of interested to try out the Penny Arcade games, because I'm assuming they're in kind of, like, the same style. Yeah. I really hope we get a Cosmic Star Heroine 2 somewhere down the line.
Or a spiritual successor, kind of like how Oversight is this sort of sequel to Stories.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I would take even that, where it's like implied to be a sequel to Cosmic Star Heroine, but it's like 5,000 years in the future.
So, yeah, something like that. I also like these characters as archetypes are interesting enough that I kind of want to go more in depth with them.
Yeah, I could see that. If they could bring back some of the cast and maybe explore them as characters more, then that would also help to make me like it more. Because see, the thing is with these games is if it doesn't have a great, so like Tales of the Abyss, right?
Right.
Kind of plays not great.
Yeah.
But it has excellent writing and characters, so you're on board with it. It's the same principle with Drakengard 1. These games they don't play great, and you're not super crazy about the battle system, but there's enough interesting stuff going on in the plot that you don't mind. Cosmic Star Heroine really didn't have, for me, it's like a 7. It didn't have enough. The battle system wasn't quite there to make me really enthusiastic to play it, and the characters weren't there enough to make me really care about what was going to happen to them next. So, there's potential.
Yeah.
There's potential there. So, but I know you liked it a lot more.
I liked it mostly entirely because it's very Chrono Trigger inspired, and it's not like my super favorite RPG.
No, of course not.
I had a fun experience with it. I actually really liked the final boss because I love, here is the final boss, and here are its 2 hands that you also have to kill.
Right.
You put that in your game, and I'm like, yeah, let me attack these hands.
So I guess you love the giant robot scene.
I thought that was fun.
Yeah. I actually really like the giant robot sequence scale. Just the hugeness of the robot.
Yeah.
Because you're like, look at these tiny sprites and these giant feet. I love that. That was cool.
Yeah. Just like I said at the very beginning, this is a game that could use another 10 hours in it, or we need the sequel to kind of flesh out what's already been laid out.
Absolutely. So is that it?
I think that's more or less about it. Yeah. It was a very fun game. It's easily well worth $7.50.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
Said, it's June the 24th right now. This episode will be up in a day or two, probably. I think the Steam sale goes until July 6th or something like that. Maybe?
I
don't hold
around
me to
then.
that
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. Either way, worth pick it up. You'll have fun with it. Right. It's none of its flaws are it's more subjective than objective, basically. It's got a style to it. Right.
So.
Yeah.
Hey, cool. That was easy.
Yeah. So, thanks to Visitor for your background music. You can follow us on Twitter at The Gorge Podcast. You can email us at thegorgepodcast@gmail.com. You can also listen to Sarah's other podcast, which has Othar in it, which she'll tell you about right now.
Hey, I'm in another podcast. It's called Big Gay Nerds. LGBT live play tabletop RPG podcast. And yeah, I didn't screw that up for once.
Yay!
Me and some friends, we get together, we play games. We're playing Monster Hearts right now. It's a lot of fun. We're on SoundCloud at Big Gay Nerds, and you can find the links to all of our social media there. Thanks.
Yeah. So that'll do it for us. What do you got?
What do I got? Man. What do I got? Man, that's playing a game that I feel kind of middling about. Is that I have neither a strong reaction to it, nor a strong positive, nor a strong negative reaction to anything in it.
Yeah, there is nothing in it objectively bad. So, fuck Dima, I guess. Then.
It's been so long. Oh my god! It's been so long. I'm so glad you remembered. Well, now my whole day is better. That's excellent. You're right. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.